quick intro and get to the point for those of you who are in a hurry and don't want to watch a bunch of deek and how-to portion. 2022 Polaris Pro XP 4, 35-inch tires, deepest gear reduction that you can get with factory gears, so it's got the Ranger and the Ace gears in it. And I am looking for a little bit of improvement in clutch engagement and back shifting. So while in high, I want the machine to back shift and get up and go a little bit better. It seems like it labors just a little. My starts in high range, it seems like it really kind of labors, and the clutch engagement just isn't right. And so I reached out to Gilomen and asked them gave them all of the specs that I've got going on and said, you know, what do you think? Will this help me? And they were sure that it would. So as a Gilomen dealer, I thought, hey, I'm going to try this kit out. It'll be a great opportunity on my personal machine that I've got a lot of seat time on to see if this makes a difference. Cut to it. I've already installed it. You can watch all that later after this, but I like it. Yes, I'm a dealer. Yes, I have a vested interest in it to make it work for me and my shop and their products look good. But I don't have to lie about that because it actually does. It did turn out really good. I set it in just exact the way it came from the factory. It's got adjustable magnets in it for your setup, but it works great. I went through, and you'll see that if you want to watch the rest of the video, and did testing on high and low range and miles per hour versus RPM, and took it for a little bit of a road test. I don't have any trails right local near my shop. One of the biggest things that I noticed afterwards, two things that I want to talk about, is clutch engagement. I was on a blacktop, a little bit of an incline at a stop sign, stopped, hit the gas, and went. Now before, it would just be kind of like a laboring, slipping, I'm in too high a gear feeling. But now it seems to grip on and start moving you forward and kind of actually like lock and lug the motor down just a little bit at that low RPM, and you're moving. You're not slipping that belt. Makes me super happy. The back shifting seems to be pretty cool. The best I can tell around here. I don't have any trails, like I said, but I may do a follow-up video for that. So look for that potentially in the future. But the back shifting, I'm going along 15, 20 miles an hour, and I give it just a little bit of gas. It back shifts, RPM comes up, and I start moving forward. It's not like this laboring, intense thing. It just, if you're watching this video, you're probably looking for more performance. You probably are running 32-inch or bigger tires, and you're like, oh, I need a clutch kit to solve that. I would recommend doing a gear reduction, but if you're as opposed to trying to band-aid with a clutch kit, especially if you're a slow-speed crawler guy. But if you're just a light used trail, this clutch kit actually might really kind of get you most of what you want. So anything above 32s, I don't think I'd really get into that. Even a real heavy 32, probably wouldn't be as successful at it. But again, I'm running a 35. It's a light 35. It's the, I think they're 320s, System 3 320s. Yeah. I do have a set of 32-inch 370s as well. Probably a heavier tire for sure than what this 32 is, but I haven't weighed the two of them, but they feel about the same. So with all that said, got into a bunch of there, but yeah, I think that you would be happy with this kit. If you're mechanically sound enough to install a kit, be realistic with yourself, or get with a friend that can help you. You may need to dial it in a little bit. You may have to adjust your top end RPM or your engagement speeds with putting the weights in different areas inside of those flyweights themselves. So for you short attention span guys, hopefully that helps. For you guys that love the detail and like to get in on it, stay tuned and we'll get into it deep. This is the way it came. So nicely packaged, appreciate that. Some bubble wrap here. Okay, so performance tuning, Gilomen Innovations. Let's see what we got. This is GI right on the side of them, so they're their own custom weight. They're not somebody else's weight that they've reboxed or whatever. Looks like they got a nice bushing pushed in from both sides. You wouldn't think how important it is for these weights to be able to pivot freely about that bolt, and the bushing itself comes out here nice on the side, so we're going to have kind of that nice slippery wear surface on the side of the clutch too. So that's a good thing so far in my eyes. And yeah, 2 rows of magnets here. So enough of that kind of stuff. I'm going to take and review the instructions because that's the kind of guy I am. I'll come back and share any pertinent information that I find with you. I've done a little pontificating here on the paperwork that they've provided, and I'm going to go ahead and get started on this, but I got a couple of shares I want to share with you because I think you could easily get tripped up on it if you're excited to get going like I am. So before we get tearing into things, I'm just going to bring you around and show you this paperwork a little bit. So right here, this is important. It says, warning, clutch weights are preset with magnets according to the highlighted line on the chart. Be sure to adjust the weights accordingly if needed. So if you weren't careful, a guy could speed through that and start thinking, okay, my first slot I need to try to drop 4 of them in, try to drop 3 and 2 and whatever. And if you're not used to seeing what you're looking at here, you wouldn't know, even though you just read it, that the folks at Gilomen have already put the magnets in there. So even though there's a bunch of them in here for you to horse around with later for different settings, if you so choose or need to or whatever, the other ones are already in there. If you need to poke them out, got the little holes in the back, you shove something through there to get the magnets out of there. So they're preloaded for your machine based on the information that you filled out on the website. They go through here and they do a real nice job of telling you what each one of these positions are going to do if you add more or less weight. And it's very tempting to start changing on it already, but I'm not. I'm going to leave it exactly the way they sent it for my machine, the way it was set up. So with all that teeth work that I've been doing, let's go ahead, kind of get this off and apart. You're going to notice I'm certainly taking the tire off. It's on a lift. I'm not struggling over that. And I'm also going to take the shock out of the way because I don't like struggling with that either. So you don't have to do that. That's just what I'm going to do. Okay. All right. Okie dokie. Now, here's a good time there, fellas and gals, to just take a look and see what kind of condition your seal is in. You can see if it's had a nice clean witness mark all the way. Get this so you can see it here. Nice little clean witness mark all the way around it. A little bit dusty up here, but had some dirt laying up there that fell on down. So anyway, looks good. I'll go ahead and grab my tool and we'll get the belt off of here. Before we do any of that though, we're going to just look around for obvious, anything that, you know, you have rust marks flying out, you know, from here or there. I've had clutches apart where there's a bunch of rust on the inside and it's like, why? Shouldn't have any rust in there. You're getting all kinds of rust. Maybe these bushings and the rollers and the spider are taking a crap. So slow down, just take a look. Even if you've never been in there before, get familiar with it, what it should look like. So next time when you are in there, something stands out of place, it'll raise the hackles. Now this machine has been getting a little bindy. When I'm like up on, you know, when you're doing a climb or something like that, I mentioned earlier, we like to ride kind of some more technical trails. When I'm getting this stuff warm, it's a little bit bindy. So I'm going to take and slide my cell phone in here back and forth, and I use a video. I don't take a picture. I use a video, and I slip this little guy right underneath there like that. And you take a video because that way you can look down the movable sheave and the non-movable closest to the engine. You move that video back and forth, and then you can look at it again, kind of watch the instant replay and really see where that belt's riding. Maybe you got to put some shims in the back side of this when you go all back together to get it just right. But since I've got that problem to begin with a little bit, I'm just kind of curious to see where she's at. Not real sure what we got going on, why the Bindomatic 3000 is happening. It's not bad, but it's not what I would prefer, but well, you know what? Maybe this guy is riding a little bit dirty. Riding dirty. Might be a little bit towards the outside. Have to see what she looks like when we put it back together. But I think that belt might be riding just a little bit this way. So we may have to do a little shim adding and subtracting when this baby goes back together. Okay, so next I'm going to get you in here a little closer. It says this, oops, in the instructions, but I'm going to point it out to you. X, X. When they go back together, make sure that this X is above that X. That's what that's referring to. All right, here's our factory spring. Factory. We're going to set that off to the side. Before I get taking this apart any further, I'm going to get my pneumatic broom and head in here and give this a big old puff out. So things are going to get dusty. Get ready to hold your breath. We'll have particles raining down for days. It'll look like Chernobyl in here for a while. All right, back at her here. So the instructions tell you a 1/8 inch Allen and a 3/8 inch socket. One thing I'll add to that is 1/4 inch drive, chrome, nice thin wall. Anything else, thicker wall, is not going to fit in here real nice. These bolts will only go in one way. Well, you probably could horse around and get them in the other way, but do them one at a time so you don't get things lost or missing, or you always got two more to reference if you want to lose track of where you're at. So I always like to inspect these. At this point our weight should come out of there. Riding on these rollers back in here, which you want to get your fingers, you can't see it, sorry, but on the back side of this spider there's rollers in every one of these positions that roll up and down this weight. If you hear any clicking or looseness in that, you're going to have some side to side, but radially, if that roller is like that, you can hear a little clicking, but that, I assure you, is not excessive. And you roll it back and forth and she's buttery smooth. So that roller and spider will go on to live, see another day. We'll check all of them quick here. Oh, my teeth are running my teeth. I'll just get it done. They feel nice. Oop. Drop the bolt. Figured I'd show you guys a little comparison, one weight to the other. So I popped out this second weight here, rotated the clutch around, and this bolt actually came out kind of hard. You can actually see some of the, maybe not, you probably can't see it, but it's just all that, it really looks like kind of like a little bit of like bushing material, or from the OEM weights, or it could be just dirt that has gotten some kind of solidified, I don't know, stiff is what, you know, something like that, whatever. and it was actually kind of seized up on the weight. I use the word seized lightly here, but I took it out and took some simple green to it, and it kind of got some stuff on it. So I just got a little sanding sponge here. You can get these at like a home store. I'm not going to go bananas trying to ruin the coating on this shoulder bolt, but I just want to freshen that up and get all that gunk off there, so when I get them new weights put in, it will have a nice clean. Again, I'm not trying to change the surface finish of the material. I'm trying to get the junk off, and this sanding sponge is nothing aggressive at all. You could use a piece of like Scotch-Brite pad, 3M deal stuff, whatever that stuff is, but it's just what I had sitting here close. I just grabbed that. Again, with the Loctite, it doesn't show it that in their in Gilomen's paperwork. I think the best thing to do here is get the bolt through and just get it through the weight. Me personally, you can choose to do what you want and then put it on the threads. That way there's no chance of having this Loctite on this bolt and you're sliding it through and getting it on this bushing and on the inside of this weight, and you know, getting everything sticky. All right, so we got our secondary off the machine, and we're going to just separate this, and I'm going to bring the camera down so you can see right in here as I pull it apart, and you're going to see how much dirt is probably on the inside of this thing, and that goes to that point about taking this stuff apart. And you've seen me blow, right? Blowing, but I bet we're going to find just a ton of dirt on the inside of this yet, so let's see. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it, just literally falling on the inside. Just a ton of it in there. So, you know, it's belt dust, it's dust off the trail, whatever it is you're riding. I'm just checking out these rollers here. Pretty nuts. Will it fill back up again? Absolutely. But, you know, it's part of, I think, kind of owning these machines in a way. We're looking at these clutch facing here now. No grooving. I've seen them sawed pretty good up in here. Different machines, but this is looking pretty good. Looking at the helix again, here's this just massive amount of crap and crud and corruption. I think I'm going to take and just blow this off so it doesn't get all over my little work stand here. Bushing is just loaded with it. But I'm going to blow these guys out, probably just walk out the garage door there and blow these out outside so I don't have to sniffleate on all this stuff. And then I'll be right back. Okay, so I got my clutch tool here. You don't absolutely need this, but it's certainly helpful. If you're lone wolfing it, you could have somebody help you kind of hold it because she's under spring tension there. I'll grab my nut. And then I'll grab a wrench and put just a little on there. It's just a little snuggleization. The reason we're compressing that is this little fella is going to live down inside there, and he's going to want to be fighting as we take it apart. Fighting ya. If you didn't have a compressing tool, you'd want a buddy holding her down like this here as you're kind of taking it up, like a kind of like, you know, kitty corner, cross caddy corner, wherever you're from. But since we got him squinched in there, he's not going to go anywhere with that tool. This doesn't have a clocking reference or anything like that that you need to be careful of, meaning this, you know, lines up with an X or anything like that in the primary. It can go one of 3 ways. So be cognizant of how you're taking these things apart, right? So I always, if I'm in over my depth on things, I'll take and kind of bring him up slow and lay him back right the way he came off onto the other side. There's our factory spring. Set him over here off to the side. We're just gonna kind of look at the helix. Obviously the helix we're gonna reuse, but there's a little more schmutz down in there that I want to get out of there personally. Oh, look at that. Would you look at it? Just look at it. Kind of shoot the old lookers down here on top to see if we're kind of in the right ballpark anyway, with these holes lining up with the helix. How's everybody doing here? I'm gonna watch how this, it's got a nice little taper in it that's gonna bring himself in there, but just make sure we're lining up fairly decent so we're not gouging anything up or whatever. Looking all right? Speak to me. Okay. Bolts coming through on the bottom of the, so it doesn't sit flat anymore, so that's handy. Okay, at this point in the game, what are we going to do with these guys? Yeah, we're going to put just a little snip on there. We're going to torque it to factory spec, and there wasn't any from the factory, and it probably would have been fine. But I like to have peace of mind. I ride a lot of remote areas, shelf roads and stuff out in Colorado, and middle of the night in West Virginia, allegedly. Can't ride the Hatfield-McCoy stuff at night, so allegedly. But Tennessee, Windrock, stuff like that. And I don't want to have any what ifs, what happens and whatever. So just a little bit of that thread locker on there. Never done me wrong. It's tight. I'll just back her off a little bit. Get these guys in. They're started good, so don't get nervous. Unless you're really good with your hands and tools, do not power thread things. Just a little bit there for me. Now I'm going to grab my torque wrench. All right, you could put it back any old way, but this has got some witness marks on this helix from where the jack screw, when you take the belt off, has been going in there. I like to put things back the same way they came apart. Just looking at my rollers here. They'll live for a few more miles for sure. But anyway, I got running my mouth. I like to put things back the way they were, so I'm just gonna line that up. Okay, so we're just going to take and polish this shaft up a little bit. Anyway, that clean off some of that yuck on there. Now remember, I got these 3 shims from before. They kind of got some yuck on them, so I'm just going to take them over to my little sanding sponge and clean them up a little bit. "26 foot-pounds. So let's get caught back up to speed. I got my new bolt in that I damaged when I took it out. Remember, I dink, 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 dropped it on the ground and boogered up the threads. Probably would have been fine, but I had the time, so I just got another bolt. So I picked up a new bolt, picked up a bit of a cold. That's why I sound like I'm John Wayne. And spring in Wisconsin, it's windier than heck outside and about 30-some degrees, so disappointment setting in. Anyway, let's get all this put back together and take this baby out for a rip and see how she handles. All right, so we're going to put our cover back on. Remember when I was telling you earlier, we've got an X right on there. And there's going to be an X on the spider. Those two want to be lined up. Now I'll just zip around in a circle to know that I didn't forget anybody. There we go. Again, not every belt manufacturer is this way. It's just the way I've always been doing it, and I've never had one bite me. So if you're looking down on top, you can't see in there, but if you can, I run Polaris belts, that's just me. Should be able to read it left to right. There it wouldn't be, because you'd be reading right to left. So that's how I put the belts on. And we just start loosening it up and turning it, letting it kind of come out. You back this jack bolt off. And I just give this a little turn. Just keep turning it, and that shiv is going to come together like that. Push the belt out where it's supposed to be. And get him up to the tension that he's going to be at. At this point, I always just like to take a look and remember back on what I've done, especially if a project is stretched out over a couple of days like this, because you destroy a bolt. I've torqued, reinstalled the bolts on the back side. I remember torquing them. That was a struggle with a strap wrench. Belt's on, it's on the right direction. Pull the rags out so this doesn't get suckified up in there and have all that other mess happen. I think at this point, I'm ready to start her up, let her idle a second. Then I'll jam it in gear and make sure that belt's riding in the center like it's supposed to be. Don't want to go out and test on something and have that be in the wrong setup. So I'm going to start her up, warm it up, let it run, and check my belt alignment. Looks like our engagement is about the same up here at the dash. 1650. Like I said earlier, it's cold here in Wisconsin at the time of filming this. All right, so I'm going to start up my cell phone and I'm going to actually grab the light off the camera because my nice little work light died. I'm going to ease that in there and ease the phone in there and see where this belt is laying in and out. And this has nothing to do with the clutch kit. This is a situation that was present before my machine we did any of that. Remember, we kind of looked at this at the beginning, so I'm saying we got to add some shims here. I'm just going to pop this off here. Be careful we don't drop any. And I'm just going to add one more to it. So now we'll have a total of 4 in this particular setup. There isn't a right or wrong. Yours wouldn't need 4 or wouldn't need 3 any more than it would need 5 or 1. It's all on how everything kind of comes together in your machine. Trial and error. All right, let's torque him. Because if you torque it and do it right, then you'll for surely have to take it apart the second time. Isn't that kind of how that goes? Okay, so we'll start it up, let it recenter and find its home, and we'll shoot the camera in there again and see what she looks like. Ooh, look at that. Hello, baby. Again, this is why I like the video better, because you can see so much more. You can go back and forth. Okay, so we might have gotten a little deep into the weeds with maybe a separate video on how to shim that out and adjust that, but it's a 2-for-1 on the house. At this point, I really feel comfortable that we should button this thing back up completely and take her out for a few hot laps and beat runs and see what kind of improvements we made. Okay, I'd say final thoughts. So we just finished up our field testing as it is. The high-speed run 0 to 60 didn't go as planned. It was very interesting. Instead of breaking the tires loose for about 20 feet instantly, it launched forward and then broke loose, and then the RPMs went too high. So I may try to do that, redo that test tomorrow. Right now I'm not going to do that. It's getting to be too busy out there. There's too much traffic on the road, and I don't want to donate a bunch of money to the local law enforcement. So in closing, with everything else, I did take it out back here in the shop in my property, and that's just long grass, and I pinned it from a dead stop, and it shot up to about 8,400 RPMs, obviously broke loose. It's not really apples to apples, it's apples to bananas or something like that comparison. What I'm really curious about, I don't really care about the top speed, 0 to 60, how quick, I don't care about any of that stuff. What I care about is clutch engagement, clutch temperature, belt temperature, its mannerisms around 30 to 40 miles an hour. And I'm going to tell you that I am very happy with it. I'm actually delightfully surprised on how well it works. Let me say that yes, I'm a Gilomen dealer, and yes, I have a vested interest to make this and make it for them to sound good. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to do that, because if I say, yeah, this kit's great, and you go out and put it in and you find that it's complete garbage, it makes me look like a fool. So I'm not really interested in doing that. I truthfully think that it is a nice improvement over what I had going before. What is it going to do for your situation with your tire setup and your machine weight and gear reductions or not? I don't know. That's why these kits are adjustable. That's why you can put different weights in them, is to sort of fine tune it. My RPMs might be a little bit higher than what I would hope for in an ideal world when you're doing that full throttle stuff. I don't ride like that though. Typically what I ride a lot of is either really slow crawling stuff down south, or again, that 30, 40 mile an hour max through the twisty, windy stuff in the North Woods here, Wisconsin, and that's plenty fast enough for that area. So what I'm really impressed with is how it engages, and it's really hard to describe, but it's basically, I really noticed that when I was out on the road and I was going up and I came to a stop sign and I got, I'd stopped and then I got going. It's like it's crisp and it engages, and you can actually kind of like feel the motor like lugging, like there's a positive engagement like you'd have with like a gear clutch scenario, and you start moving. It's not this slip, slip, slip of the belt versus clutch. So that is exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for better back shifting characteristics. I'm just driving around my property here in the grass or out in that bean field, 15, 20 miles an hour, and you give it some gas. This is high range. And you give it some gas and the RPMs shoot up because it's back shifting, and it's getting you. So it's getting you moving. It's getting that engine wanting to get in a peppier power band area and just not sit there and slip on the belt. So again, I'm delightfully happy with it. I'm quite surprised, and I would definitely recommend this product. This is something you'll have to tune. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. I'm just saying it is a possibility. So you buy this kit and you pop it in, keep the instructions, keep all the extra magnetic weights. You may have to tune it a little bit for your machine and your riding styles. Mine, the way it was set up right out of the box, I've been very happy with it. So I've got an upcoming trail ride. I'm curious to see what it actually does on the trail, all this road testing and whatever. That's really just kind of a comparison. It doesn't really tell you its mannerisms, but I'm pretty excited about what it's gonna do out there on the actual trail. So appreciate you tuning in. If there's anything I can ever do to help you, make sure you look me up. I'll be more than happy to steer you in the right direction to any of the vendors that I work with, or if you need help on your machine yourself in the area, bring it in. We'll get her fixed up for you. Appreciate it. Thank you.